All right, welcome to the Robert Show. We are here at DataDriven Conference, and I have Eric Cross with me. Eric, welcome to the Robert Show.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Just for audience, would you like to quickly introduce yourself? Tell us more about what's happening at DataDriven Conference.
Yeah, so just quick introduction. I lead field operations for Reltio, so the way to think of that is all the go-to-market functions, but more importantly, when we think about post-sale, customer success, driving customer outcomes, customer support, and so forth. So I get the entire life cycle of a customer from the genesis of when they become a customer to the point that we drive a business outcome for them. So it's an exciting role and an exciting place to be.
Very key role for sure, and I'm pretty sure this conference is very important for you for sure because you get to meet all the customers in person. So it's always great. I'm kind of also curious to know a little about what have you been hearing from customers?
Yeah, great question. Let me start with this, just the foundation of this conference and what it's all about,
Yes.
just to lay the perspective. When we embarked on this journey 2 years ago to have this modern data management conference, we looked at it from the perspective it should not be a user conference, it should be a collection of industry analysts, thought leaders, customers, global enterprise, leading data and analytics officers, really
Nice.
to drive the agenda and focus on the strategies and outcomes that they're trying to solve for. And when I look at the week, it's been phenomenal for me. I think there's two things. Most of the companies that we've spoken with, there's two things they look for when they come to a conference. I think the first is they want trust and transparency.
100%.
Right? And I think the second is they're looking for knowledge and perspective. And that was a foundational principle for us in terms of putting this all together and how to go about that, which is Reltio just be the sponsor of the event and allow those constituents that I mentioned before to really drive the agenda throughout the week.
Yeah.
You asked me in terms of what are some of the common themes that I'm hearing from customers, and I would tell you it's not just customers, it's the analysts, it's the thought leaders, and there's a very common theme is everyone has a data problem.
Yeah.
It is only getting worse. And if you look at the innovation and pace of change around AI and AI-enabled experiences and applications, it is exploding at a 10th degree. And so, the common theme we hear from organizations is, how do I get a complete, unfettered view of whether it's a customer, whether it's a product, whether it's not close enough, or a supplier,
Yeah.
and how can you help me address that change? There's a couple of common themes. Number one is how do I prepare my organization to be AI ready? And how do I leverage my enterprise data in that regard? That's one theme. I think the second theme is, if you think about data management and go back 20 years, it started off as, I just need to have a golden record in terms of, is this customer who I think this customer is? And that's really migrated to where I want a 360-degree view of a customer, of a product, of a supplier, any of the attributes around it. You talk to most leading data and analytics officers, their challenge and what they're trying to drive towards is having a single data architecture.
Right.
And then it's, how do we address those changes? What are the strategies, the best practices, the playbooks that I need to go execute on that? And that knowledge and learning should not just come from us, it should come from the collective group of individuals that are at this conference.
Yeah, no, I love it 100%, and thanks for sharing that. The quality of conversations I've had in the last 2 days, yesterday at the reception and here today at the conference, I think y'all have done a massive job of, obviously getting different personas together, but also, like you said, diverse perspective about data, the modern architecture, AI, and that kind of puts, obviously, Reltio at the forefront as well for at least hosting this and bringing people together. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Eric, I kind of have like a quick question around, some of the biggest trends that you are seeing in data unification. I'm kind of curious to know a little about that as well.
Yeah, listen, I think front and center, if you think of the history and the life cycle of a data element, most organizations still look at it in the construct of, I will take all of my data elements, dump them into a data warehouse, and then I will make decisions in terms of how I engage that data, do segmentation, do activation. But if you don't solve the problem with your data being fragmented, siloed, not unified and trusted, it just exacerbates the problem, right? So that's point one. The second point is if you think about what most organizations are achieving to do today is the majority of use cases are real-time oriented.
Yep.
So think of it this way, how do I point my data to the edge of the business at that system of consumption? So here is a great example. You could take a leading fintech payments platform. They have multiple brands. They do not have a unified view of their customer. So if you are transacting as a merchant or a consumer with one of their leading brands, they have no way of understanding how they would even execute on a cross-sell strategy for multiple different platforms because their data is fragmented, it's sitting in thousands of different systems.
It's a huge gap.
It's a huge gap, and where we fall into the picture is we unify all that into our single architecture.
Nice.
That's leverage for them to be able to execute on their business outcomes, whether it's fraud detection, whether it's personalization, whether it's marketing activity, and so forth.
I'm kind of also curious to learn about, some of the misconception that enterprise leaders have around this, because it becomes a challenge. Like, I'm pretty sure it's one big problem that you're solving, but then it becomes a challenge for the enterprise leaders to, get through this and,
Right.
bring, like, companies kind of start thinking about, oh, it's about the centralized data we are kind of talking about, right?
Yes.
So what have you been kind of hearing from customers, and what are the common misconceptions that you're hearing?
Yeah. Well, I think front and center is there's a common view that it is very hard and difficult, but it doesn't have to be. And I think that the underlying principle with that is organizations understand that change is required, but they also look at it that growth is optional. And what I mean by that is change is required, but if you have the right tools, the right resources, the right technology, and you circle that with the best practices,
Right.
the playbooks, you can go execute on it, and it doesn't take forever to go execute on. Because if you look at data management, and more specifically the early days of data unification, they were very long, arduous implementations.
Exactly.
And they never achieved success. And that is really not the reality in today's world.
It has changed, and it has changed for better for all the enterprise leaders. You all have been catering to so many different enterprises out there. It's good to hear from you directly about the things that have kind of changed massively. I'm kind of also curious to obviously get the AI piece into the game. How are you kind of seeing the AI piece? Obviously AI is shaping the modern data management.
Well, it is, and as I said earlier, AI is just making the problem worse. You talk to any leading AI company, especially the LLM providers, the big Magnificent Seven, they will all have a common theme when they talk to you that says any strategy with AI, if we're enabling enterprise apps, enterprise workflows, if the data that is feeding into that is siloed and fragmented, it extrapolates the problem even further.
Right.
So executing on an AI strategy is less about the AI technology, and it's more about the state of readiness that
Yeah.
your data is to be able to go execute.
Yeah, no, I like it. Also, one more quick question about the future. How are you seeing what's next for Reltio, and how do you plan to innovate, expand the market much more? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I would say this, and this is on the theme of AI. For the markets we serve, AI is an enabler. It will not be a disintermediator for what we do. So think of it this way, and this is an area of innovation for us, is we are leveraging and have AI built into our platform.
Very
We will
cool.
continue to evolve that, because if you think about data management, there are the technologists that implement it, but there are the users, and the users typically are the data stewards.
Yeah.
And so our focus and motivation is how do we make that constituent more productive? So an easy way to think about that is if you have world-class AI built into your platform that can do cleansing, match, merge, maintain survivorship, and a data steward where it used to take 300 data stewards to do that work, now it takes 30, that is a huge productivity enhancement for
Right.
an organization. So that's a big focus for us.
Love it. Eric, these are fantastic insights. One last question for you is, if folks want to reach out to you, learn more about what do the different experiences, the different use cases. If they want to reach out with different questions, where can they reach out? Is LinkedIn a best place?
No. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I have an email address, eric.cross@reltio.com.
Awesome.
I will not give my phone number, but
Yeah.
you can probably find it on the internet, or an email is fine, and I will respond 24/7, 7 days a week.
Amazing. This is great, Eric. You've shared some amazing insights, and hope you have great fun for the rest of your conference. And thanks for putting this conference because it looks like a great way to connect people, but also bring the data community together.
No, absolutely. I love coming to conferences like that. It just energizes me more about what we're doing and the
So true.
differences that we're making in some of the world's leading enterprises. So thank you for having me.
Love it. Thank you very much,
All right.
Eric.
Thank
Such a
you.
pleasure hosting you.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you, everyone.